Hi, I'm Josh. I was born in poverty-laden Flint, Michigan to a blue-collar working family. I went from pulling weeds, washing dishes, and delivering pizzas to building a small business doing over $150,000 a month. I sold it and moved to Costa Rica with my wife and 4 kids. And on this podcast, we explore the secrets and the strategies that I used to win. Building your business is one of the hardest things you will ever do. So let me finally help you automate, grow, and someday sell your company. Hey everybody, Josh here. Thank you so much for joining me here on the Quick Talk podcast. I'm excited. I'm actually recording this episode from Nashville, Tennessee, an amazing place. I live in Costa Rica. I traveled to Michigan, and then I shot down here to Nashville to do some work. It's been a whirlwind, but I'm excited. I have a guy named Joe on the line, and Joe is an interesting fella. He's got a ginormously successful software company on the other side of the country. And I'm going to let him get into that a little bit. But, he's quickly becoming a good friend of mine. We're very like-minded. We have a lot of weird similarities. But, more than anything, he's an entrepreneur. He's a father. He's a business guy. He's taken intelligent risk. He's succeeded at a high level. But I don't think it was always that easy. I'll let Joe explain that. Joe, how are you doing?
I'm doing great, man. How's it going? I'm
going pretty good. Why don't you say your last name so I don't butcher it?
Sure, it's Kowalski.
Oh, that's not that hard. I should have just said it. How's the weather on your side of the country?
Pacific Northwest-ish, but right now it's gorgeous, so I can't complain.
Doesn't it mean it rains constantly there, so everybody's depressed and on antidepressants the whole time?
Rain is a subjective term. Like, if the drops are big, then if you consider that rain, then no, it doesn't do that here.
Okay. Because I know half the state's dry, half of it's not, but it was 105 degrees here in Nashville. Like, it was unbelievable. It was crazy. So, but people aren't listening to hear about the weather. Let's talk about you. Let's talk about Service Monster. Let's talk about your entrepreneurial journey a little bit. How did you get involved in business? Tell us a little bit of your story.
I'm a second-generation software engineer, third-generation business owner. But I resisted it. Coming out of high school, I did the band thing, and chased that around for a while, and then fell in love and got married and had a kid and had to take shit seriously all of a sudden. Mm-hmm. And then working for other people, doing the warehouse thing. I didn't have an education, right? I had that opportunity, but I gave up baseball for band, so my scholarships went bye-bye. And then, wandering around trying to figure out what to do, swinging hammers and working odd jobs and, worrying about now this baby that we got coming on the way and just grinding it, but knowing all the time, like, this is so not what I want to do. This is not me. I'm a creator. I make things. And making money for other people just wasn't in my DNA. Although I hit it hard. Like when I work for other people, I have a passion for working hard. But it came, stepping into different careers, because I was all over the place. I was a biomedical polymer chemist at one point.
Wait. Oh, whatchamacallit?
So I started working in, that's a kind of a weird story, but basically going from manufacturing, I understood like general process, right? Systematized stuff. And then I ran into a polymer company who made plastic that went inside the human body, and they needed their warehouse systematized, so they hired me. So I do that for a while, and I'm like, early 20s at the top of my game in the warehouse department. Where am I going to go? And so I'm just like, man, what am I doing? And then I get in good with the manufacturer of the chemist who did the chemical manufacturing floor, and he's like, come work for me and scrub pots. And I started reading books. I started reading chemistry books in biochem, and I had an opportunity to make some chemical one day without anybody knowing, except for the guy who ran the chemistry place, and it was the best batch they'd seen.
That could have went terribly wrong, but it sounds like it went good.
Yeah, no, it went great. They QA, everything's QA'd, right? So you make sure that you're not sending out stuff that would kill people or anything. And then from there, the PhDs in the lab who were doing the research and development brought me into the lab. So within like 18 months, I went from their warehouse manager to sitting side by side with dual PhDs working on chemical and process and inventing stuff that would actually eventually be used in my own back. Not really, but I have a football injury, and I was working on a synthetic disc replacement, so I just thought that was a weird tie-in.
That is super weird. I mean, I know you're a systems guy, and we're going to get into your CRM, the way it works, the way your brain works. I mean, one of the ways I feel similar to you is in the sense that I've always craved, consumed, and loved education. I'm interested in all kinds of things, but going to college and going through a formal rigmarole and that whole fitting in a box thing, it just didn't work well for me. Is that kind of the way that you were?
Yeah, well, I mean, I thought I was going to have an opportunity, but I don't think I reached my intellectual height. I don't even know if I still have, right? I mean, our capacity to learn is so great. It doesn't stop at the end of college, which I see a lot of people doing. And they just, not happy. They're not chasing their passion. When you can use your passion to help other people, that's how you set yourself up for success and for a happy life, period, right?
Absolutely. And in the software side, would you say your passion is more creating things, like building tools and software, or is it more building systems to serve people?
Oh man, that's a complicated one. So at the end of the day, the value comes when the user uses it and their business gets better, right? That's that's the value that I bring to them. And I certainly love that. And I love seeing, people go from single owner operator to big operations, and in part because they're using what we provide. But for me, it's like spinning plates is a big thing, right? I do a lot of stuff simultaneously, and when I don't have that much going on, I'm like depressed or freaking out, or things aren't going well for me. So I've got to do multiple things, and building these systems are incredibly complex. They're ginormous. But I don't know if you ever saw Good Will Hunting, but when he was like doing the math, and he's like, "This is just so freaking easy for me." Like, that's how I feel, and it gives me these little victories every single day.
Well, that's cool. We need people like you, because the people listen to this podcast. We do have some. I know your CRM serves a lot of carpet cleaners and other industries too, but that was kind of your bread and butter. But
it is.
We have pressure cleaners, window cleaners, lawn care companies, home service companies. And they're not awesome at systems, right? I mean, they're trying to fight the good fight. They're an artisan. They're out there doing their trade, doing their technical thing. And a lot of them, they're like bakers, okay? And they're really good at baking a loaf of bread. And so they say, "Hi, I should start a bakery," right? Like, they're good at pressure cleaning. They like cleaning things. So they say, "I should start my own company." But they quickly find out how difficult it is to scale and to win and to succeed at a high level without being a slave to your company after they get kind of going with it. And I know you see that every day. In fact, hasn't it? What has it been? 13 years or something? You've had your product out. Is that about right?
Yeah. So we started in 2003, shortly after I did the polymer gig, and I wasn't getting the results from QA quick enough. It was taking like 3 days. So I learned how to program. So I built a little program. So we went from a 3-day turnaround to a 3-hour turnaround. Got some kids fired who were working for as interns from Berkeley, so that wasn't so great. But I saw the power that technology could use to systematize the business. So every time then I did an iteration on the chemical and I sent it to QA to get the results back, now I'm getting it back every 3 hours. So we could go through several iterations throughout the day and move the company that much faster during that R&D process.
And that's what technology is, right? It's a multiplier, right?
That's right. Absolutely. Yeah. And so at that point, I just was like, whoa. Like, chemistry's cool, but this software thing, I can create worlds. And so I just dived headfirst into that and landed my next gig, and then joined a junior partnership, and then sitting in the Hotel Summerfield Suites after flying back and forth every flippin' week from Denver to Sacramento, leaving my family behind, my 5-year-old crying every week. Like, a year and a half of that, I'm like, okay, I know I have this junior partnership thing, but this is not what I want to be doing. And that's when I came up with the concept of SaaS, basically, software as a service. This was in 2002 in the Summerfield Suites in Denver. And man, I just was like, this is what we need to do.
Well, SaaS was such an early thing at that point. I mean, you were way early in the game with that. I know that they existed, but my gosh, the amount of resources available to you to help you even understand how to build a successful business around that had to be very limited, if existent at all, right?
It didn't. No. I just, again, systems, right? I just said, oh, this is what I want to do, and I want to build this ginormous thing. And then I architected what a 100-person company would look like, and then I worked that backwards. And man, let me tell you what, those spreadsheets where I went around and got friends to bootstrap some cash into the business. There's 5 owners, and that's been its own struggles, right? Having ownership. But we are good now the way that we talk. But there were some times when that was really tough too. But pulling that cash in, we bootstrapped. We didn't get like angel capital investing or anything, and nobody was doing what we're doing. And I thought, the spreadsheets, man, this is awesome. We'll sell thousands of these, and we'll be rocking and rolling. And then 7 years later, right, I'm still fighting with cash flow. And it's just, man, an every day struggle. It is a grind. You just come in and you do it and you trudge it out and you watch your vision come life, one crawl, one hand, one foot forward at a time. And sometimes you run, and sometimes you crawl, and sometimes you're on a rocket ship. And that's what systems give you, right? Is that rocket ship.
Exactly. I mean, what you're saying is so cool, because there's a lot of books written on what do successful people do? What makes something really work? And, if you want to distill it down and pick one thing out, the big item that I've noticed is grit. It's the ability to get out of bed.
I've been using that word like crazy lately. Grit. That's what millennials lack right now.
Yeah.
Grit. They just, geniuses can learn anything. I don't hire skills anymore. I hire people, and they're geniuses, but man, you get some grit.
Well, and a lot of the owners don't have enough grit. So people, another way I put it is they quit the band before they get the record deal. Seriously. You got to just keep going, people. Come on, you got this. You will figure it out. I mean, how many pivots and iterations and redos and whatever did you do during those 7 years? It was like walking through the fire, I'm sure, right?
15 years, because check it out. I had a vision on what I wanted this company to look like, and it was based off a specific architectural technological design, and I couldn't bring that to fruition until September 7th, 2016. And we're not there yet as the date of this podcast. So that's my first time I get to actually realize my vision. I had to grow a 35-person company that, we processed $330 million in the U.S. within service industries, and it's not to where I need it to be.
Yeah, well, people like you and me, as soon as that comes, you're going to think of even something cooler. But that's good. That's what makes us innovate. That's what helps our business grow. It's you're the guy casting vision. But I want to relate this back to the service company who's out there hustling, fighting the good fight. They need some grit. They need to have the end clearly visible in their head. In my business boot camp, the first thing that we do in the very first module is begin with the end in mind. What is your why? What are we trying to do here? Where are we going? Where are we pointing the sailboat? Because people are oftentimes directionless. They work really hard. They feel warm and fuzzy because they worked hard. But working hard by itself without clear vision, a clear understanding of your destination, it doesn't get you anywhere. You just spin your wheels. And so the grit, you need the vision of where you're going. You got to reverse engineer the plan, and you got to have those systems. And a CRM is an amazingly important part of any business and any industry these days and age, but it's all kinds of other systems, hiring people and how to fire people, how to lead people, how to inspire people, all this stuff. But people get overwhelmed, Joe. They get numb to it. It's just too much for them to understand. Give me some practical insight on what people can do to maybe clear their head or build a simple system or kind of get their mindset correct so that they can really build their business in this way.
How about instead of mindset, I just give you something tangible that they can do right now?
Absolutely. That'd be awesome.
Their number one factor in any service company, without question, is repeat rate. So if you start on that premise, being able to bring that client back, because, you hear all the coaches, they all talk about it. It's all true. It costs you X number more. They use 8, they use 10, whatever the number is, depending on your industry and what you're doing with your marketing. That repeat rate is what will make or break you. A 50% or greater repeat rate. I'm hearing conversations like, hey man, help me with my business. I want to continue growing. I'm doing well. They've reached a point where they maybe finally got to the point where they're paying themselves a paycheck instead of taking the till from the morning and then buying lunch with it in the afternoon.
Oh yeah,
right?
Been there. Preach it.
And then there's the guys under 50% repeat that are just freaking out. They're always fidgeting. They're like, what's going on? Like, this is not okay. This is harder than a job and I'm not making much more. Like, it'd be easier if I just went and got a job somewhere. And
that's right.
And it's that repeat rate is the number one factor in that. And so increasing that is critical, but understanding it's even more critical. So let me break this down. Most people calculate their repeat rate incorrectly. They'll take the number of jobs they've had in a month, and they'll figure out how many of those are repeat customers, and then they'll divide the two and they'll get a percentage. That is not your repeat rate. That is the amount of repeat work you happen to do that month. That doesn't count extra prospects. Let's do an example. If you have 100 people coming in every month, 50% of them are previous clients, 50 of them are new customers. That's 50-50, right? 50% repeat rate, you got 50 coming in. Let's run an awesome marketing campaign. You get 200 people in, all new prospects, but you only get the 50 repeat customers in you get every single month. And now it's 50 of 300 instead of 50 of 100. Did your repeat rate go down? No, you just had an awesome prospecting month. Let's flip it. Let's say all of a sudden now no new prospects come in, but you still got that 50 you get every month. 100% repeat rate, baby. Wait, no, something's not right there. Right? So it's really being able to hone in on it. So here's how you calculate it. Get your pen and paper.
Got it. I'm ready.
Okay. First number you have to identify is what we call your total marketable base. These are the amount of people in your system, in your database, in your Rolodex, that have used you within the last 2 years. Okay? Now, you can vary it on service. You're doing air duct cleaning or doing high-end tile and grout with a protectant, you might be able to extend that to 4 years. If you're doing something on a more regular basis, like, I don't know, pool cleaning or something, pressure washing perhaps, seasonally, you can even shorten that down. But typically, that 2 year is a sweet spot. And the way it works is this. The clients, after 2 years, have aged in your database. You have the same likelihood of bringing them in as a new prospect. Mm-hmm. So there's no real intrinsic value in them as a marketing source.
Yep, I totally agree. We did the same thing. We used 18 months, but the principle is exactly the same. In fact, when I help people look at acquiring other companies, one of the things you got to look at is the difference between your active customers versus your total book of business. Because
that's right.
Your total book of business is useless. Your active, engaged customers matter. But keep going on. You're on a roll.
So that's total marketable base, right? So you take your total marketable base, each individual, and you ask yourself, the system, QuickBooks, whatever, how many of these clients have ever used you more than once? So let's say you've been in business 10 years. As long as a client that was serviced within 2 years ago used you any time since you've been open, then you can consider them a repeat client. But they have to meet that first criteria first. You had to have serviced them within the last 24 months.
And let me zoom out for a second, okay? Some of these guys listening, they're small. This might be a little bit over their head a little, just because they don't have, maybe there's a lot of people aren't this granular yet. But what I'm hearing from you, correct me if I'm wrong, feel free to jump in, is that little businesses drop the ball badly on engaging their customers after they work for them. They don't follow up, they don't re-engage, they don't stay top of mind, and so the repeat rate is atrocious. And so once you start to scale a little bit, every new job you're selling, you're losing someone on the back end, and you don't even know you're losing them because they forgot about you and they got a new advertisement and they hired someone else, right? And so you can't achieve growth because you're just spinning your wheels because there's too much churn. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, interesting that you use the word churn. That's more of a SaaS churn, right? The opposite of repeat rate. But yeah, it's look, even when they're handed a system like a DIY, when we built our CRM early on, one of the things that I was trying to engage them on is the incredible marketing engine that we have, and the fact that they can do their own reminders and set them up, and they would do them once and they'd get great results, and I'd call them back and I'd be like, dude, awesome results. How's it going? Oh, I haven't done it again. What?
Yep.
I just haven't had time. I'm wearing too many hats. I've got my wife. I can't do this. I've got my kids drop off. Like, single owner operators have to do everything. Every single little task, every single little thought. And even if they've got partners or spouses or kids to help them, it's all on their shoulders, right?
That's right.
They're not distributing the burden against, an amazing team because they haven't built that yet. So, it's easy to not stay in front of your repeat marketing, but we'll run some numbers here real quick. I'll just pull them off the blog so I don't have to calculate them in the air. But if we take an example of kind of what I call the science of your repeat rate, and I'll try to be very simple here. Come on, where is it?
Well, even while you're pulling that up, let me jump in, because with SendJim, we have this app, and it lets you send follow-up sequences to your customers. So people will sign up with SendJim. They're excited. We onboard them. We teach them how to use the product. We help them set up everything. And then what happens is they don't execute. They don't do it, or they'll do it for a week or two, and then they just stop doing it. And the number one reason people leave SendJim, almost the only reason, is because they're just not using the tool. And
right.
That's what you found to be true originally with your CRM as well, right?
That's right, yeah. And then it occurred to me that I've got all their data. Wait, I can do the damn thing for them. And so we started Fill My Schedule, which was a huge blessing for, really kind of us moving into the next gear, because it was something people desperately need, a completely fully automated, boutique, high-end, tent-fold card in an envelope reminder system, thank yous and reminders. And that has an 800% ROI rate nationwide. And it's just because it's so easy. It's not so great. It's because you actually just need to do it, right? Just showing up from a marketing point of view is oftentimes the biggest thing. These guys get ground down in the font size or the colors, or, how about just do it? How about just get it out there?
Oh, I know. It's a basic fundamental part of business, but you'll have a little guy out there sponsoring a T-ball team, doing yard signs, running a radio ad, doing direct mail,
all the prospecting.
and they're doing all that without doing any back-end customer retention, following up.
So check this out. Let's follow two companies, right? Company A, Company B. Company A brings in 20 new clients a month. Company B brings in 20 new clients a month. Okay? They're both doing an average invoice of $250. Just give those numbers. Okay. Company A has a repeat rate of 25% because they don't do anything. Company B has a repeat rate of 60% because they stay on top of their client base as much as they do their prospects. Fast forward 36 months. The total annual revenue for Company A is $80,000. The total revenue for Company B at this point, recurring, is $150,000. Which business would you want?
Ding, ding, ding. I think we're having a light bulb moment here.
Yeah, that's it. Repeat rate. Just plug in a repeat rate. Just watch that thing and then make it grow and make that your focus, and you'll compound your effectiveness in your market. Here's another statistic that I find is fascinating. It goes in. If you're growing your repeat rate, it means your client base is growing faster. If you take your total market potential, and you can go to like Info USA, draw a circle around how far you really want to travel, target single, 25 to 55-year-old homeowning females with kids and or pets, like whatever your target is, and then get a count. And that is your total potential market, okay? And I would encourage everyone to know that number, because your scale depends on it. Like what you're actually capable of growing to, unless you start doing regional locations, that's it. That's all you could possibly do. Mm-hmm. Some guys don't really even think about that, and they're in a military town with the transient population of 7,500, and they can't figure out why their repeat rate's 7%, right?
Well, that is something I guarantee most people don't do. I didn't do that either.
Yeah, and so you have that number, right? At 1% ownership, so back to that total marketable base. When your total marketable base is 1% of your total potential base, referrals start really kind of taking on a life of their own. At 10% ownership of a market, you do almost no prospecting. You'll survive completely on your client retention program.
Yep, and you get into a different problem where you can barely it's called the ability to service problem, is what I call it.
Yep.
You can't physically spend enough money to buy enough trucks to hire enough people to do it. So what you do is you either invest more in scale, or you start creeping up the prices and extract more profitability. And that's a great place to be in. In fact, the last year and a half of my company before we sold it, that's where where we were. I mean, it was so expensive for us to just survive the growth. It was really a complete rocket ship, and it was all of word of mouth because we were obsessed. The reason I built Send Gym was for myself. We were obsessed with engaging customers, and I'm glad you went to the referral thing because I was going to ask you about that. That's kind of the intangible thing in the corner that's hard to measure, but it's so powerful. When you're getting the repeats and you're re-engaging, getting multiple cleanings for someone, the likelihood of them referring is going to go through the roof.
Yeah, and it's not that difficult to track. I mean, if you have a decent CRM, your lead source you can target as part of your account, and then you should be watching that numbers, establishing a referral rewards program, and you can even argue, like, how much can you drive a referral rewards program to more than just handing out business cards, right? Just doing it alone is going to drive referrals. You don't necessarily have to, like, give your profit away like some people coach, but that may work for some people, but it's in the doing that really triggers it. It's in the system, building it in so that the techs are doing it, and so you handle the phone call correctly when the referral comes in, and that you understand where that client comes from so you can understand their importance to the company.
Absolutely. So in the first 7 years of your business, you were struggling. You had some business partners. I'm sure you were doing some good things. Nobody knew you existed. You're trying to make money. You're trying to support your family. It starts to flip for you. When was that aha moment? Was there something that you did to pivot the business model? Was it this fill your schedule thing? When did the business start to grow? Because, I mean, you have 35 employees just at your software company. You have a massive operation. You're crushing it, Joe. But when did you start to really get in that direction and get some momentum? What happened?
Two things. So the first thing was fill my schedule for sure. And that was, I think we were in our fifth year at that point, and we just started to get to profitability. Up till that point, we were, the five of us were just cash flowing, a little bit, or taking diminished or no salary, or working out of our home, or we got so good at reducing cost. Oh my gosh. And then doing an amazing front. So, let's say at the time you could buy a Nortel Meridian Link CTI server so you could have a big phone system, and that'll cost you $150,000 used. Or you could invest in this small little emerging company at the time called Finality that could, do everything that you could do there, but was $4,500. And $4,500, man, that was, oh my God, that was so expensive. But to systematize things, to put on that presence that we were, we knew what we were doing, and we were a stable technology company, it was worth every penny, right? So it's those decisions that really can help drive you. But yeah, we were just languishing up until and just getting into cash flow, but no power behind it until Fill My Schedule. And then people saw that, and then a lot of our 50% of our clients sign up because of that program, not even really fully understanding what they're going to get out of our full CRM package. The second time was landing a big corporate client. And so I had a choice to make. We were at the precipice of a rebuild, which was desperately needed. We got a knock on our door from a business strategy that I had laid out, kind of a grassroots, long-term, long game, and it came to fruition. The whole plan suddenly worked, and I found myself in negotiation with the largest franchise in the space, and that was really hard. Oh my gosh. And lining that all up and making sure, it ended up to be like a 180-page contract. It took a year and a half to negotiate.
Wow.
And we were talking weekly, and we were moving forward. They were moving forward, but we were moving forward together. And it was just keeping pace and getting that understanding of what corporate clients need and how to best suit the franchises. So we tell the franchisor, it's franchisee first. I don't give a crap what your needs are. I'll meet those. That's fine. We'll do that on the back end. But if nobody's using the system, then who cares? Your data's useless.
Yeah, and that must have brought a level of financial stability that really helped you do some more special things.
That's exactly right.
The cash is the fuel in your gas tank, right? You got to have the cash in any business to really do it. And the rest is history. Now you have thousands of customers, and you're dominating the carpet space and moving into a lot of other spaces. I think it's amazing. It's really cool. And then, last week, I think it was, we got together and you gave me a demo, a preview, a screen share of the new version of Service Monster that's coming out. Give us a couple little nuggets briefly on what's coming and why it's a big deal to service companies.
Oh, God. Well, first of all, it's And this is going to sound oxymoronic, if that's a term. It is very simple and elegant and beautiful in its design. So it's a joy to use. It's fast and efficient, but it is very feature rich. It handles your end-to-end process, every single step. And, from the point of capturing those leads coming in via a web form that you can put on your website, to Facebook, channels, to, whatever you want to set up through your own API connections, dumping leads in the system, handling those leads, turning them into opportunities, chasing those sales, converting those into estimates, having your text go out, work orders, billing, invoicing, and then making sure that you're following up through drip campaigns and email campaigns and mail campaigns, call campaigns, and even export campaigns, so you can work with other third-party systems. So, that's kind of the flow. The scheduling and the routing is off the hook. Live, real routing.
Yeah, the routing was cool because you got a little map. You can see where your technicians are. You can see them driving around. When you're scheduling appointments, your system automatically geo-targets and it knows where addresses are, and so it kind of recommends in real time what day to drop, Mary Smith on because she's on Main Street and there's already this opening by another Main Street. Little things like that. It's packed full of stuff, and it'll just be too overwhelming to go through everything. But I'll tell you something. It's amazing. Honestly, it's stinking amazing. And one of the cool things that I saw in there was the other integrations you're going to have, and we've talked about, how maybe we can send Jim to go in there and all these other apps you're going to have plugged in. So a lot of the software people are using don't have to all be their own silos. You can connect it together and build a super system. That's what we should call it, a super system.
Super system.
So,
well, and we already have the marketplace in our current iteration, and we have hookups like with Google Calendar Sync and QuickBooks Online and QuickBooks Desktop, Authorize.net, Bank of America. Who else? Responsibid, Fiddlebug. Just a couple shout out to a couple of those companies.
Yeah, love Kurt. Kurt's awesome.
And we're already establishing those relationships. Our APIs are pretty incredible, but what's more incredible is Service Monster 6 is built API first. Realistically, someone could build their own version of Service Monster 6 on top of our API framework because that's what we're doing.
Yeah, and I guarantee that went over the head of some of the people out there. But that's okay. The bottom line is this, guys. You want to win. Okay, you have customers, you do stuff for your customers. You need to keep your data clean, organized, and in a nice little vault so it's nice and safe, where you can track your little metrics in a simple way without using pens and papers and spreadsheets and staying up till midnight. You don't need to do that, okay? Service Monster is a tool that's inexpensive, and it just does all this stuff for you. You can get more information, I'm sure, by going to Joe's website. We're going to do some more things in the future, too, to share Service Monster with you. I'm really excited about what it brings to the service industry. I plan on doing some webinars and some other things. There's some seriously deep, powerful, game-changing, I've never seen before stuff going on with this product. And Joe is just a highly intelligent guy that's passionate about this industry. I was asking him, I'm like, Joe, what are you going to do? You're going to scale up and do an exit? You're going to sell this for $100 million? What are you going to do? He doesn't want that. He wants to just make a cool product that works for people. And that goes from the one-man show all the way up to the national, franchises with, hundreds and hundreds of locations. So I think it's amazing. But really, I think your entrepreneurial story is amazing. That you did 7 years of fire, Joe. Yeah. And so where you are now, everybody sees the wine, but no one sees the crushing of the grapes. And I know that you've had your grapes crushed.
Still getting crushed, right?
I'm
always being chased by the lion. You move the yardstick forever.
Absolutely. And you can't take all this stuff with you. But, I'm of the belief that we need to do hard things because hard things are awesome and easy things are not awesome. And we got to live a big life. We need to do this for our families, for our communities. We want to leave a legacy. It's not about the money. It's about winning. It's about challenging ourselves. I think it's really cool. It's been an honor getting to know you, Joe. Is there any final words of wisdom you can give to help a service business rock better tomorrow than they do today?
It just be intentional about everything, right? This just and really focus on that repeat rate. I can't stress that enough. you just got to build from there, because if you're not building off that repeat rate, then if you can't get it above 50%, then something's wrong. And if you can't justify that, then that's where the grit comes in. You just got to fight to do that.
Yeah, I agree. It's all about having some grit, being intentional, and you don't have to build Rome in a day. Don't get stressed out listening to this. You don't have to sign up for 42 things and do it. Look, do something tomorrow that's more intentional with engaging your current customers than you did today. Do something. It's progress, not perfection. Don't quit the band before you get a record deal. You guys can do it. If I can do it, trust me, anybody can stink and do it. But I will tell you, I'm relentless. I am freaking relentless. And that's really one of the biggest factors of why I've succeeded in the service industry. So if you're not that, you might want to be a little concerned. But if you got some grit and some gravel in your guts and you get up and you fight for it, you're going to be fine. Just keep going, my friend. Keep going. Joe, you're awesome. Thank
Joshua,
you for your time.
It's a pleasure, man. It's always great to talk to you.
We'll talk to you soon.
Hey, thanks for hanging out, friends. And from all of us here at the Quick Talk Podcast team, we hope you loved today's show. We hope that you were inspired to become a doer and not just a listener. Apply what you've heard today in your own business and watch things change for the better. Lastly, remember that all the money in the world can't save your soul. Seek first the kingdom of God, my friends. We'll see you next time.
For more information about the Quick Talk Podcast or Joshua's other businesses, visit our website, quicktalkpodcast.com. Have a blessed day.